Tonight, we invite you to drift into a world of ancient wonder with the haunting tale of Lamia. Allow your mind to journey through the serene yet eerie transformation of a radiant queen into a mythical creature. This enchanting story explores the calm depths of ancient woes and divine wrath, weaving a tapestry of beauty and mystery. Rest with ease as you immerse yourself in the echoes of legends past. And now, let the tale unfold. In the gentle glow of dawn, Lamia stood upon the balcony of her palace, gazing over a kingdom that rested beneath the soft blush of the early morning sky. Her beauty was a marvel, a gift inherited from her divine ancestor, Poseidon, whose oceanic lineage ran through her veins like a life-giving current. As the beloved queen of her land, she ruled with a grace that was as natural and constant as the tides themselves. Her wisdom was as profound as her beauty, and under her reign, the kingdom flourished with prosperity and peace, a reflection of her serene yet commanding presence. Lamia's people adored her. She was not only a ruler, but a symbol of hope and prosperity. Her every decision seemed to turn the wheel of fortune in favor of her subjects. The lands yielded abundantly under her care, and the cities thrived with a harmonious blend of commerce and culture. Songs in praise of her benevolence and wisdom floated in the gentle spring air, accompanying the laughter and joy of her contented populace. However, the serenity that enveloped Lamia's domain was destined to be disrupted. Her beauty, renowned throughout the known world, captured the attention of none other than Zeus, the king of the gods. Whispers of her loveliness reached the heavenly realms, where tales of her resplendent appearance and benevolent rule were carried by the divine winds. Intrigued by such reports, Zeus decided to descend from Olympus, driven by an insatiable curiosity to witness the radiance of this earthly queen with his own eyes. His arrival on Earth was silent, shrouded in a majestic mystery befitting the king of gods. Zeus did not announce himself formally, nor did he bring forth a legion of divine attendants. Instead, he approached quietly, blending into the myths that already surrounded Lamia's existence. There was a sweetly unsettling magic in the air, a silent prelude to the celestial drama that was about to unfold. Lamia's brief encounter with Zeus was veiled in mystery and subtlety. It is said that the sky shimmered with an ethereal light that day, casting shadows around the land that were both soothing and ominous. Legends speak of Zeus approaching Lamia when the morning dewdrops still clung to the earth, a silent witness to their meeting, hinting at truths that time itself would reveal only in whispers. Their encounter was like the fleeting passage of a gentle breeze, leaving an indelible mark that only the keenest eyes could perceive. This brief interaction, though cloaked in ambiguity, was but the first note in a symphony of divine jealousy that would soon ripple across the heavens. Lamia returned to her duties, unaware of the divine eyes still watching her from the heights of Olympus. Yet, fate has a way of threading its path through the fabric of life, leaving those touched by its design changed forever. The gods, in their ethereal chambers, began to stir, feeling the gentle currents of fate shift ever so slightly, foretelling events that would soon spiral beyond mortal comprehension. The peaceful realm beneath the soft pink and amber hues of the rising sun seemed oblivious to the foreboding presence creeping into its midst. Unbeknownst to Lamia, the seeds of unrest were sowing themselves into the fertile ground of divinity and destiny. Quietly, the world awaited the unfolding of a story, woven from threads of beauty, jealousy, and the unyielding nature of divine will. Thus, the stage was set for the ancient tale of woe and recompense, a tale that would see a beautiful queen transformed by the very forces captivated by her grace. For now, the sun rose higher, casting its golden light over Lamia's kingdom, a silent harbinger of the storm that lay hidden beyond the horizon. It was the calm before the storm, a serene beginning to an epic story of transformation and divine intervention. With a quiet harmony, the kingdom basked under the warm embrace of spring, unknowing of the shadows that whispered of change. And as Lamia continued her reign, the gods watched from afar, their actions poised to interweave with her fate. This introduction sets the stage for the divine jealousy soon to unfold, leading Lamia towards an uncertain future that would forever alter her legacy. In the radiant realm of Olympus, a subtle shift began as Zeus, the king of the gods, found himself ensnared by tales of Lamia's breathtaking beauty. Her allure was not just whispered among mortals, but now it echoed through Olympus. Zeus, known for his capricious nature, was not immune to such charms, and he found himself drawn more and more towards the earthbound queen. As he watched Lamia from his celestial vantage, her elegance and grace stood out against the backdrop of her prosperous kingdom, capturing his attention like a rare gem glistening under the midday sun. Hera, the formidable goddess of marriage and Zeus's wife, soon became aware of the murmurs surrounding her husband's interest in the mortal queen. Her initial curiosity quickly gave way to a more profound sense of wariness. Known for her fierce protective nature over her marriage, Hera felt the unsettling stir of divine intuition, alerting her to the burgeoning threat of infidelity. The whispers in Olympus grew louder, each one stoking the fiery embers of jealousy within her. Though Zeus spoke freely of Lamia's beauty, brushing off his words as mere admiration, Hera's instincts told her otherwise. Zeus, captivated beyond measure, allowed his visits to Lamia to grow more frequent, risking the perpetuation of rumors that wove through both mortal and immortal realms. Those in proximity to the queen noticed the change, whispered speculations blooming like wildflowers in the spring. Each encounter between Zeus and Lamia, although cloaked in mystery, fueled the undercurrents of intrigue and suspicion, binding Lamia unwittingly within the fabric of divine politics. Unbeknownst to Lamia, her moments shared with Zeus were anything but private. Hera, ever watchful, deployed her spies throughout the mythical and mortal worlds to confirm her suspicions. Her emissaries whispered tales of Zeus's dalliances back to her, validating what her heart already knew, that her husband's interest in Lamia went beyond mere admiration. With each report, Hera's resolve hardened like stone beneath the surface of an eternal river, preparing for the day when action would replace observation. Caught in the epicenter of this divine intrigue, Lamia felt the invisible pull of forces far beyond her understanding. To her, Zeus's visits were shrouded in the mystique of godly favor, a blessing beyond what any mortal queen could have imagined. Yet, she sensed an intricate web being woven around her, hinting at outcomes she could not foresee. Her beauty, once a source of pride, now placed her squarely in a game played by the gods themselves. From the heavens, Hera watched, her jealousy as palpable as the summer sun, casting its unyielding gaze over the land. Each moment of Zeus's absence in Olympus, each whispered name of Lamia carried on the wind, deepened her ire. The goddess's wrath was like a slow-boiling sea, its tides rising imperceptibly yet relentlessly, promising a storm that both mortals and gods would feel. The atmosphere atop Olympus grew ever tense, a delicate dance of divinity and discord playing out within its marble halls. Gods and goddesses, ever aware of the whims of their king and the temper of their queen, whispered of the burgeoning conflict. Their divine laughter now carried an edge of anticipation, the kind that precedes a dramatic turn of fate. The heavens, once serene, now thrummed with the potential for upheaval. In the midst of this brewing turmoil, Zeus remained blissfully absorbed in the pleasures of Lamia's presence. Unbeknownst to him, the serene face of the mortal queen hid the stirrings that his attention had sown. He continued to savor the ephemeral joys of her company, even as dark clouds gathered over Olympus. The serene days passed, but the inevitability of confrontation lingered, as sure as the rising dawn. Thus the stage was set for the impending clash, not only between Zeus and Hera, but also between divine wrath and mortal destiny. Yet, for Lamia, ensconced in her mortal life, the silent machinations of gods were but shadows at the edges of her understanding. The consequences of this divine attention took flight, shaping paths yet untrodden by the feet of gods and mortals alike. In the hallowed realm of Olympus, a storm brewed within the heart of Hera, the queen of the gods. Her thoughts twisted with sorrow, compounded by the betrayal she perceived in Zeus's infatuation with Lamia. The whispers of her husband's dalliance were more than just rumors. They were accounts confirmed by her spies, painting vivid pictures that stung her spirit. Initially, Hera wrestled with an overbearing sense of melancholy, pondering the erosion of fidelity that had once defined her union with Zeus. She felt a poignant heaviness that lingered until it slowly morphed into something more potent, an ember of anger that kindled with each passing hour. This simmering rage was effortless in transforming her sorrow, for Hera was not merely the goddess of marriage, but also a proud being not given to submission. As the pangs of Zeus's infidelity stabbed at her core, she felt an unjust sense of loss of honor, loss of trust. Her profound sadness found comfort only in thoughts of retribution. Soon, this divine monarch, cast aside by her husband's wayward affections, began to conceive a plan. Hera knew she could not alter Zeus's whims, but she could regain control over her own narrative by punishing the mortal who had captivated him. Consequently, with every moment spent in contemplation, Hera's hurt solidified into purpose. Her wrath held a grim inevitability, a choice made not in haste, but with deliberate conviction. The corridors of Olympus buzzed with an unspoken understanding among its ancient deities, sensitively attuned to Hera's growing ire. As her presence swept through the divine halls, gods exchanged wary glances, silently acknowledging that the queen's fury would irreversibly alter the plays of fate upon the mortal firmament below. The decision, once relationship met realization, was irrevocable. Hera steeled herself with the certainty that there would be no reprieve, no tender acquiescence to forgiveness. Her cup of patience had tipped, and its contents promised lamentation only for those that defied her standing as a goddess scorned. It was within her divine prerogative to execute judgment, and as goddess of many graces, her ire was, at times, formidable. Hera determined that Lamia would not walk away unscathed, and in her mind's eye, a course unfolded like a scroll revealing its intricate script. Lamia would bear the burden of monstrous infamy. It was with these immutable decisions that Hera's vengeance began to manifest in the heavens. A storm, electric and commanding, churned into existence at her bidding. The skies darkened with swirling clouds, and celestial disturbances bore down on the world of men. The brewing tempest was both a manifestation of her anger and a herald of her decree, reaching far into the human domain. Lightning flashed, an urgent messenger of irreversible change, and thunder rumbled, echoing the determination she held. Meanwhile, oblivious to the divine machinations swirling above, Lamia continued to walk the earth in her mortal beauty. She basked in the adoration of her people and the clandestine visits of the wandering god, unaware that doom swayed ever closer upon the horizon. The promise of Hera's wrath remained concealed from her consciousness, a tragic oblivion that mirrored the tapestry of fate being woven above. The atmosphere in Olympus thickened as the storm progressed, each gathered cloud a testament to the resolution fixed in Hera's heart. Other gods observed from vantage points unseen, recognizing the storm's approach as not simply another bout of divine theatrics, but something far more deliberate. The heavens would soon bear witness to their queen's desolation and the despair it would cast upon the mortals below. As dusk settled in, blanketing Olympus in a gray shroud flecked with hints of deep purple and crimson, Hera stood poised at the height of her dominion. Shadows, born of the billowing clouds, wrapped around her form like an extension of her sentiment. Lightning danced behind her, a prelude to the story that was about to unfold, in stark contrast to the serene beauty of the realm above and the unsuspecting tranquility below. In the silence before her storm would touch the earth, Hera exhaled a breath filled with resolve. She knew the finality of her actions, and as the tempest unfurled its reach, she awaited its collision with the destiny she had sown. The mere mortal Lamia would soon discover the reality of Hera's decision, a revelation that would usher in a new chapter of anguish on a night brimming with divine portent. Thus, the fabric of myth and legend began to shift under the weight of the goddess's ire. The skies over Lamia's kingdom turned a foreboding shade of dark blue as storm clouds gathered, heralding an omen of divine displeasure. The atmosphere grew restless, a tempest brewing with an intensity that seemed to echo Hera's wrathful decision. Lamia stood on her palace balcony, gazing at the rapidly darkening heavens, feeling the unfamiliar yet undeniable presence of a divine force. The fierce winds swept through the kingdom, sending chills down the spines of all who felt its touch. It was as if the very elements mourned for the tragedy that was about to unfold, a somber symphony orchestrated by the goddess of marriage herself. Amidst the chaos, Lamia sensed a presence well beyond mortal understanding, a grim herald of the celestial storm. She felt the enigmatic pull of divinity, the air around her charged with an emotion raw and potent. It was then, through a vision wreathed in wrath and fury, that Hera manifested before her. Her appearance was a blending of ethereal beauty and terrifying rage, her eyes glowing with unyielding power as she spoke words that would seal Lamia's fate. There was a shiver of finality in the pronouncement, and Lamia understood too late that her destiny was no longer her own to control. Hera's voice resonated through the kingdom, announcing a curse so profound that it would alter the course of Lamia's life for eternity. The queen, once beloved and radiant, was doomed to transform into a creature of monstrous nature, her beauty twisted into a haunting visage that none could bear. The word struck Lamia with unfathomable despair. Fear clawed at her heart as she grappled with the impending transformation. An affliction woven through divine retribution, the curse tore at the fabric of her existence, a cruel reminder of divine wrath and jealousy. As Lamia's despair deepened, the devastating transformation began to unfold. Her reflection in a nearby shattered palace window offered glimpses of a terrifying metamorphosis, her features contorting into something foreign and fearful. The once gentle visage now housed a menacing apparition, as her eyes glowed with unnatural brilliance, chillingly unable to close. Horrified, Lamia watched helplessly, surrounded by darkness that threatened to consume her entirely. The air was thick with dread, the queen's anguished cries lost amidst the thunderous roar overhead. Like strands unraveling from a cherished tapestry, Lamia's kingdom descended into chaos as the curse took hold. The once thriving and harmonious realm was now engulfed in shadows, a nightmarish landscape echoing the calamity within. Panic seized her subjects, who, in their terror, fled from the palace and scattered into the night. The very essence of fear reverberated through the hearts of her people, whom she had led with grace and wisdom. But neither prowess nor beauty could shield her from the abiding effect of Hera's malevolence. With each heartbeat, Lamia found herself more isolated as the terror-stricken populace departed, leaving her alone within the confines of her palace. The emptiness pressed upon her, a suffocating solitude as she faced her reflection, a truth irrefutable in its horror. She stood, a solitary figure in a suddenly unfamiliar world, surrounded by remnants of what she once cherished. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil within, an unrelenting tempest that roared alongside Lamia's silent lamentation. The kingdom lay in ruin, a desolate testament to divine temper and jealousy, wrapped in a veil of lightning and thunder. With the storm continuing to howl, Lamia stood at the threshold of her new reality, an existence marked by curse and legend. A sense of resignation settled upon her, the echoes of Hera's wrath serving as a constant companion, entwining with her despair. Against the tapestry of the night sky, Lamia's transformation into myth was complete. As the winds whispered the tales of her tragic fate, they carried her toward challenges yet unwritten, her solitude shared with the shadows that had invaded her world. Lamia's transformation into a creature of nightmares was swift and unyielding, a metamorphosis birthed from divine punishment and jealousy. Her once thriving kingdom now lay under a shroud of fear and uncertainty, its vibrancy snuffed out like a candle in the dark. Friends and subjects who once adored her beauty and wisdom now recoiled in terror, as if Lamia herself had become the embodiment of a fearsome bedtime story meant to frighten children into obedience. Thus, shunned and regarded with fear, she found herself stripped of the warm, vibrant connections that once defined her existence. The mystery of Lamia's vanished children, her progeny with Zeus, deepened her agony and accelerated her descent into madness. Though trapped in her monstrous form, her motherly instincts persisted, prompting a desperate search for those who had inexplicably disappeared. Their absence etched a path of sorrow through her heart, the void echoing louder with each passing day as she wandered aimlessly, calling their names into the void, yearning for any sign of their presence. The relentless pursuit gradually wore on her mind, shadows of dread and helplessness stalking her every step. As the days turned into nights, the true extent of Hera's curse tightened its grip. Lamia found herself unable to close her eyes, forever open to the haunting visions of her new reality. These visions tormented her with serpents slithering through her dreams, a reflection of the monstrous form she had been condemned to inhabit. Night after night, these daunting figments pervaded her consciousness, knitting together an unending tapestry of nightmares. Her mind became a realm of shadows and winding snakes, twisting and turning as if mocking her plight, leaving her bereft of the peace she so craved. All around, people spoke her name in hushed whispers, mothers sheltering their children from the sinister tale that Lamia now embodied. She had become the very thing parents evoke to quiet their unruly offspring, a fabled horror meant to instill obedience. The haunting transformation weaved an intricate web of fear around Lamia, ensnaring not only her physical form but also the lingering memories of the life she once knew, a life now blotted out by the stain of eternal vigilance and solitude. Choosing exile over inflicting more fear, Lamia retreated into the wilderness, seeking solitude amongst the ancient forests and the cover they provided. In the shadowy embrace of twisted trees and lingering mist, she sought solace from prying eyes, a brief respite from the stirrings of the world she could no longer be part of. Despite her retreat, the haunting echoes of her former life lingered, haunting her solitude and whispering reminders of lost glories and familial bonds severed by divine retribution. In this silent isolation, the objects and memories of her regal past flared brightly in her mind, moments of joy and sorrow melding into a melancholic symphony. Every rustle of leaves and distant call of the night spoke of a time when Lamia was cherished, a queen revered and loved. These echoes, faint yet persistent, served as reminders of what had been stripped from her by Hera's consuming jealousy, a mother estranged from children and a queen dethroned from her realm. Even amidst these shadows, flashes of her once bountiful life intruded her solitude, tinged with regret and the weight of irretrievable loss. Lamia's spirit, while shackled by her transformation, refused to surrender hope, stubbornly yearning for reconciliation with her former self. And so, she stood poised between the remnants of her past and the haunting reality of her present, her soul a tapestry of love and grief, beauty and monstrosity. As the wintry forest embraced the somber silhouette of Lamia, her path forward remained veiled in uncertainty. Yet, the fire of her resolve smoldered quietly within, kindling the possibility of a fate beyond mere desertion and despair. The winds carried whispered tales of legends and myths still untold, where Lamia's journey through the labyrinth of nightmares would take shape as both a warning and a legacy carved into the annals of time, an eternal testament to the complexities of divine indignation and mortal suffering. Lamia wandered through the vastness of her solitude, her heart heavy with the relentless ache for her lost children. It was a grief that gnawed at the depths of her transformed soul, a reminder of the life that was torn from her. As she moved through the misty fields and shadowed forests, the echoes of her children's laughter haunted every step she took, breaking through the silence with a poignancy that was both sweet and bitter. In this eternal night of existence, her yearning to hold her offspring once more deepened, a visceral desire overshadowed by the monstrosity she had become. The encounters with human mothers stirred emotions within her, both feral and mournful. They sensed her, a lurking presence at the edge of their joyful gatherings. Their instincts, sharpened by centuries of legends, warned them of her approach. When they glanced up at the twilight's embrace, there she stood, a specter of caution and foreboding, a warning to shield their offspring. Her presence, wrapped in shadow and myth, carried with it the weight of child-related omens. At times, their children whimpered in their sleep, whispering secrets of fear that only a child's heart could comprehend, possibly hearkening to dreams whispering her name. Lamia's appearance had become associated with unnerving mysteries. Mothers began to murmur of omens and portents, their voices carrying on soft breezes to others far removed from their hidden glens and meadows. Her legend, whether truth or extension from children's nightmares, whispered caution to those mothers, commanding them to guard their youngsters with vigilance. This association was for Lamia a tangle of remorse and rage, beyond blame, yet inevitably interwoven with divine punishment. The knowledge of another's lost legacy mirrored her own, invoking both sympathy and a quiet sense of kinship with those she could never touch. The echoes of her past life were relentless, a constant reminder of what could never be recovered. Each rustle of leaves, the gentle creak of bending branches in the wind, seemed to mock the hollowness of her arms, once ready to embrace the children now forever gone. These specters from her motherhood haunted her restless soul, anchors of her curse that served only to deepen her sorrow. She moved like a shadow among the twilight mists, her heart heavily burdened by whispers caught on the wind. Mothers whispered her name to their children as a cautionary presence, a specter to be feared and respected in equal measure. Among the Greeks, Lamia became a figure etched into night stories, a mythological embodiment of loss and supernatural retribution. Her tale served as a warning to children and parents alike, a mythical deterrent against the tides of night's enchanting dangers. These stories, stripped of the humanity behind the myth, perpetuated her identity as the embodiment of maternal wrath and tragedy. Despite her frightful identity, Lamia's life was not devoid of desire for redemption. Her longing for the simplicity and warmth of motherhood was a struggle against the identity imposed upon her by divine jealousy and wrath. The notion of holding her children, of nurturing them under the gentle sun, was a vision that visited her dreams, only to dissipate with the rising of the cursed twilight. Her dual nature haunted her existence, as she grappled between the roles of the loving mother she once was, and the monster fate had forced her to become. In the silent solitude, Lamia reflected upon her lost legacy, her thoughts wandering back to the days of love and prosperity that filled her mortal life. The innocence that had been stolen weighed heavily upon her, a reminder of the life she could never reclaim. With each passing day, the twilight fields grew colder, and her heart more burdened with the pain of realities forever out of reach. Questions remained unanswered, yet within her, a burning desire grew, a yearning for solace and, perhaps, a means to resolve the injustices bestowed upon her. Lamia, standing at the threshold of a dimly lit cave, allowed the memories of her past to wash over her. These memories, filled with anguish and heartbreak, recalled the moments of happiness stolen from her by the divine wrath set upon her. Visions of her children, whom she had once held close, merged with the image of her forsaken reflection. The injustice of it all rekindled a flame within her, one that burned with the intensity of 1,000 wronged souls. As the whispering winds carried soft echoes of her lament, she felt the familiar stirrings of anger rising anew, fueling her need for retribution. Her years of sorrow had transformed her heartache into a deep-seated resolve. Each tear shed for her lost offspring hardened her spirit, molding it into a force propelled by vengeance. The once cherished memories of motherhood had now become a catalyst, urging her to step away from the shadows of mourning and into action. This shift from an enduring sorrow to purposeful determination marked the beginning of her journey toward reclaiming the power she felt had been unjustly stripped from her. Encouraged by her newfound resolve, Lamia resolved to confront the very beings who had twisted her fate. Zeus and Hera, in their celestial arrogance, had been the architects of her torment, and it was to them that she now directed her wrathful gaze. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, yet the feeling was somehow liberating. Like the flickering flames that danced across the cave walls, her determination burned brightly, lighting her path forward amid the encroaching darkness. Legends began to circulate among men, a myriad of cautionary tales told by those who had the misfortune of crossing her path. Those who lived to recount their experiences spoke of the nightmarish figure who haunted the shadowy wilderness, an embodiment of grief and vengeance. With each tale, Lamia's fearsome reputation grew, solidifying her place within the fabric of myth and story. Her influence extended far beyond her physical presence, leaving remnants of fear and wonder in the minds of those who heard the tales. Travelers who braved the paths through the forests and valleys whispered of encounters with a specter whose mere presence inspired frightful awe. Along her solitary journey, she left behind the specters of fear she had become in the night, each tale a note in the symphony of revenge she conducted. Her path was marked by the frigid remnants of past encounters, standing as silent testaments to her journey's toll. These broken vestiges became monuments to forgotten justice, resonating with the solemnity of her plight. In the whispering winds, one could hear the hints of her approach. This perceptible transformation of her anguish into action was subtle yet profound. She was no longer constrained by the chains of despair, propelled instead by a formidable sense of justice for the wrongs she had endured. Ever closer, the haunting echoes of her children's laughter urged her on, sharpening her focus as she prepared to face the givers of her plight. She moved with the grace of intent, unwavering under the darkened skies. Carried by her rage and pierced by heartache, Lamia mustered her strength for the journey to Mount Olympus. As she ventured forward, she was guided by the flickering flame of resolve within, tempered by the cool-down drafts of her surroundings. Each step took her closer to the abode of the immortal gods, driven by the hope that justice, somehow, might be demanded even against the divine. Her path across the land was steadfast, a testament to her indomitable will. Thus, girded with the fiery fury born of deep loss, she set her course toward the realm where Zeus and Hera reigned. In the silvery glow of the night, beneath the vastness of winter skies, she resolved to demand answers and redress. Her journey, stretching out to the heavens, became a manifestation of her unyielding spirit, woven into the legend she crafted from the strands of personal tragedy. In the quiet of the night, at the border of myth and reality, she ventured onwards, her resolve as unbreakable as the stone beneath her feet. The journey that Lamia undertakes towards the formidable domain of Mount Olympus is one wrought with silent determination and unyielding resolve. As she steps away from the cavernous depths that once echoed with whispered legends, her path unfurls before her like an ancient tapestry, woven with the threads of past trials and enduring struggles. Avoiding the trodden paths known to mortals, she chooses a course less traveled, one scattered with natural obstacles, the weathered cliffs and dark forests that loom like timeless guardians. These landscapes, stark and uninviting, echo the solitude that Lamia carries within herself. This passage seems almost insurmountable, yet provides her with the sheath of solitude that she has grown accustomed to, allowing moments of reflection as ancient trees tower around her like silent sentinels. Along the journey, she encounters remnants of small blessings. These humble tokens, offered by strangers she has met during her pilgrimage, serve as gentle reminders of kindness, a brief respite from the isolation that envelopes her. A cup of water, a loaf of bread, and a shawl to ward off the evening chill stand testament to the humanity that persists despite the divine wrath she represents. Each small gift becomes a symbol of the compassion still alive in the world she traverses, bolstering her spirit during this arduous climb. Through whispered prayers to forgotten gods, Lamia seeks guidance and safe passage. Her quiet utterances float into the starlit sky, carried by the winds of perseverance that spur her onward. These prayers, imbued with hope and longing, are pleas for wisdom from deities long overlooked, as Lamia charts her course to the heavens. In moments of stillness, she feels these invocations answered in the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft moonlight that bathes the path stretching ahead. Visions of her children, reflections of serenity intertwined with sorrow, fill the void of silence as she ascends. They are her anchors to a life once filled with maternal love and joy, shadowed now by the specter of an eternal curse. These echoes serve as beacons, guiding her through the darkness that seeks to envelop her. It is their presence, fragile yet steadfast, that transforms her silence into solace, motivating each measured step toward her ultimate purpose. During this ascent, moments of reflection intertwine with the realization of her monstrous transformation. These instances provide clarity, enhancing her understanding of the wrath that drove her. The curse, a reminder of divine jealousy and vengeance, now evolves into a force that fuels her resolve to challenge those who have cast her into this forsaken role. The journey serves as a crucible where anger is melded with introspection, crafting a resilient resolve that she uses to draw nearer to those who shaped her fate. As dawn breaks over Mount Olympus, Lamia reaches the foot of this mythical realm with a quiet strength. The imposing cliffs stand vigilant, seemingly indifferent to her presence, yet embody the epic struggle she must embrace. Amidst the breaking light, she is silhouetted against the cliffs, a figure both tragic and indomitable. As she pauses to gather herself, a silent guardian standing at the threshold of destiny, the morning sky offers a gentle hue, a promise that her journey, while solitary, is far from unnoticed. Her presence at the foot of Olympus marks the culmination of her pilgrimage, where the realms of gods and mortals intertwine. The stage is set for the divine encounter she seeks, a confrontation where the echoes of ancient woes will reverberate through the halls of Olympus. With resolve in her heart and timeless winds at her back, Lamia prepares for the challenge that lies ahead, poised to redefine her course and reconcile the anguish of her past with the fragility of her master. The of fate. Hope. As Lamia stood at the foot of Mount Olympus, the vast divine presence of the peak loomed before her, a silent testament to the power and caprice of the gods dwelling above. The brisk, clear air brushed against her skin and carried whispers of the immortals' laughter, echoes of a realm that toyed with the destinies of mortals with uncanny ease. Each exhalation of wind seemed to reverberate with the capricious nature of the divine, reminding Lamia of the challenge she was about to undertake in confronting those who had sealed her tragic fate. She hesitated for a moment, caught between the shadows of her past innocence and the present urgency of her purpose. The memories of being a beloved queen, the grace and wisdom she wielded like a scepter, intertwined with the nightmare of her transformation. Zeus's infatuated gaze and Hera's wrath loomed large in those memories, perpetually linking her to the gods' fickle desires and pettiness. Yet, in the quiet solitude, determination surged within Lamia, urging her onward to confront the very divinities who had cast her into shadow. Her journey thus far had been one of reflection and struggle, and as she peered into the depths of her heart, Lamia sought clarity in her intentions. She fluctuated between devotion and vengeance, a devotion stemming from her origins as a grand ruler enthralled by her people, and a vengeance born of the curse placed upon her, severing her from that life. Now, as a figure symbolizing the wrath of those overlooked and forgotten by the divine, Lamia's resolve crystallized into an unwavering resolve to seek justice. In the embrace of the ancient mountain, moments flashed in her mind, marking the transient passage of her life from radiant queen to feared myth. These visionary glimpses flickered like the divine light bathing the peaks, elucidating the difference between mortality and immortality. The richness of her former life was not lost to her. Rather, it was a poignant reminder of what had been stolen by jealous eyes and capricious minds. It was a stark illumination of her standing among gods who regarded mortal suffering like a passing breeze. Breath by breath, Lamia sensed herself becoming an icon of myth and reality, intertwined. Her being was no longer a singular existence bound by earthly ties and emotions. Rather, it expanded beyond the constraints of flesh into the realm of stories told in whispers over crackling fires and among the rustling leaves. She could almost hear the hushed tones of mothers warning their children, tales painting her as a warning from times past, a dark specter created by the wrath of Hera's jealousy. Such tales enveloped her identity now, blurring the line between legend and truth. A soft exhale marked her acceptance, not just of her fate but of the duality she embodied as both mother and monster. The sacrifice of her children swept away in the divine currents, served as a reminder of her enduring love and the loss that shaped her. An embrace of this reality filled her with a strange peace, comforting her beneath the enormity of Olympus as it loomed ever so closer. Her past, present, and future stood as one within the silent, cold rock of the mountain, defining her purest form of existence. In this moment of acceptance, Lamia understood her place in the grand tapestry of myth and divine machinations. Her anger melded with clarity, guiding her upward along the well-trodden path of legends who had dared to touch the realm of the gods. For within the mountainous passage, she was both a harbinger of wrath and a silent mourner of lost innocence, inscribed forever within human memory. Thus resolved, Lamia ascended, leaving no words behind, only the silent promise of a mother seeking understanding among gods. She carried with her the hope of redemption and the recognition of her story etched into the very fabric of antiquity, a testament not just to divine folly, but also to human resilience and transformation. As the ethereal light of Olympus drew near, more vibrant than ever before, Lamia prepared to step boldly into the realm beyond mortal grasp, to face her destiny unfalteringly. Her gaze remained fixed on the distant peaks as she climbed, a solitary figure against the backdrop of a mythical landscape. Each step she took was accompanied by the light of a day unfurling into the realms of eternity, the past reaching forward into the present. Her journey would soon reach its climactic crescendo, a confrontation inevitable and laden with the weight of truths long unsaid. Lamia's ascent through the realms of mortals and gods had been arduous, each step a testament to her resolve. As she traversed the final crags of Mount Olympus, the ethereal light of the divine halls came into view, glowing as if they were hewn from the essence of celestial fire. Now, She stood before the entrance to the domain of the gods, where endless daylight bathed everything in a radiant glow, and the air itself seemed to hum with a sacred rhythm. The grand halls of Olympus towered before her, their stunning columns stretched towards an infinite sky, forming a majestic tapestry of brilliance and divinity. Inside, the presence of Zeus was immediately felt, as though his very essence permeated the air. His charismatic power was palpable, an overwhelming force that seemed to swirl and dance in the magnificent space. Here, in the heart of Olympus, the king of gods held court with an aura of both magnificence and unsettling affability, his greatness cloaked in the familiar tales of mortals and immortals alike. Nearby stood Hera, queen of Olympus. Her visage was a composition of regal poise and intense observation, a figure of composed intensity amidst the divine radiance. She observed Lamia silently, her eyes a testament to the ancient battles of love and jealousy, of retribution and justice that had brought them all to this moment. In those quiet seconds, the entire saga between them, imbued with myth and truth, seemed to hang in delicate balance. Lamia, though dwarfed by the sheer scale of divinity surrounding her, stepped forward with a heart that held both sorrow and courage. Here she confronted Zeus, the god whose fleeting affection had set the tragic course into motion. Her words, softened by ages of pain yet strengthened by enduring resolve, dared to challenge the very nature of divine will. She spoke of the life she once had, its serenity shattered by divine caprice, and of the suffering she had endured in the shadow of Olympus's splendor. In her questioning, Lamia probed the nature of divine cruelty, the source of an unyielding fate bestowed upon her. She did not question as a mortal bound by fear, but as one who sought justice, a right to her own story, in a world governed by the whims of capricious gods. The sanctuary of Olympus echoed with her queries, unearthing the buried sorrows as she implored Zeus to reckon with the legacy of his actions, urging him to see beyond the guise of his divine prerogative. This initiated an exchange both heated and somber. Lamia articulated her grievances, each word a tapestry of her lamentations and the injustices meted out upon her. The tales of grief and transformation spilled from her lips, not as accusations, but as truths seeking acknowledgement. In the stillness following her plea, the halls rang with a profound silence, the echoes of her voice a reminder of the weight of age-old woes and divine errors harbored in the heavens above. The silence of the gods, a backdrop to imposing grandeur, spoke of ancient histories unsurfaced, of divine errors left unredeemed. Their quiet bore the weight of immortality, acknowledging the complexity of emotions intertwined with their divine narratives. Though no word was uttered by Zeus or Hera, the profound stillness bore witness to the exodus of vengeance from Lamia's heart, transforming it into a plea for understanding and release. As her words lingered, an unspoken comprehension seemed to unfurl across Olympus, embraced as a shared understanding of the tragic convergence of mortal and divine experiences. Lamia's voice, steady and filled with the echoes of untold histories, called for acknowledgement and empathy, an appeal not only to the gods but to the timeless continuum of myth and memory. Thus she stood there amidst the vastness, a symbol of the unheard cries of mortals, embodied in divine legend. The sacred space of Olympus, adorned in brilliant gold and celestial white, reflected not merely light, but the aspirations and wounds of countless souls intertwined with its myths. Her plea resonated, a melancholic yet hopeful symphony that rippled throughout the divine halls, invoking a reverence for the fragile beauty of life, even amidst the caprice of gods. As the echoes of her confrontation with the divine lingered in the vast halls of Olympus, Lamia turned away from the resplendent light that marked the dwelling of the gods. Her footsteps, once bold upon entry, were now softened by the contemplation that weighed upon her. It was a moment of quietude, where the grandeur of her surroundings receded into the background, allowing her thoughts to take center stage. Lamia's path led her away from the brilliance of divine splendor, each step marking a departure from the celestial realm and a return toward her own destiny. With each stride, Lamia's understanding of her place within the tapestry of myth deepened. Her journey through Olympus had been one of revelation, as she grasped the enormity of her tale and how it intertwined with the very whims of the gods. Her transformation was not merely physical. It was an evolution of soul and spirit, a recognition of herself as something more than the sum of her misfortunes. This newfound clarity settled over her like a gentle dusk, soothing the tumult of her recent confrontation. As her descent continued, a poignant reminder of her children tugged at her heart. Their faces, shrouded in the mists of memory, appeared before her mind's eye, urging her onward despite the sorrow of their absence. The void they left had often steered her actions, a driving force in her quest for understanding and reconciliation. Yet, as she navigated the path downward, she found a growing acceptance of their place, not only in her past, but as enduring presences within her heart. In those moments of reflection, whispers of forgiveness and self-acceptance began to emerge. They were faint, like the first light of dawn peeking over the horizon, but they illuminated the path she now traveled. Lamia had journeyed through darkness, seen the faces of gods and monsters, and now, as she moved closer to the realm of mortals, she sensed a merging of her two selves, the once queen and the creature, whose name invoked fear. The gentle slope of Mount Olympus offered a natural metaphor for her reflections on humanity's tenuous connection with the divine. As she descended, Lamia pondered the great chasm that lay between the two worlds. She understood that while gods may play with mortal lives, tangible realities were left to those who walked the earth. In contemplating this divide, Lamia recognized the strength within her, a survivor of divine capriciousness, now imbued with a serenity brought by profound understanding. As the day moved toward its end, Earth welcomed Lamia with the warm embrace of a setting sun casting its glow over the horizon. The sky was painted in hues of burnt orange and honey gold, wrapping her in a cloak of tranquility she hadn't felt in ages. It was as if nature itself acknowledged her journey, offering comfort as she neared her destination. She felt the beginnings of a gentler transformation within her, a gradual release of the sorrow and anger that had long shadowed her steps. Nearing the base of Mount Olympus, Lamia paused momentarily, glancing back at the fading splendor from which she had emerged. It was a realm she understood as both a source of her suffering and a place that offered her the beguiling promise of closure. Yet, as her gaze returned forward, she felt a calm determination to embrace the role she had been cast to play in the world below. With a serene acceptance, Lamia stepped into the human realm, where legends of her life and transformations would merge with the whispers of stories shared around hearth and home. She accepted the duality of her past, a legacy marked by divinity's injustice and a creature of children's tales. In this acceptance she found peace, a harmonious balance that allowed her to step forward into her own legend, ready to let the midnight shades of her myth gently unfold into eternity. As the silhouette of Mount Olympus faded into the distance, Lamia's figure blended seamlessly into the realms of mortals, her presence weaving into the tapestry of folklore and myth. Her tale, a potent reminder of divine folly and human resilience, began to find its place among whispered legends. As the stories of her journey traversed the world, they carried with them echoes of transformation and wrath, softly resonating in the hearts of storytellers across generations. Lamia's story, imbued with the weight of her experiences, served as a cautionary tale for those who dared defy the gods. Mothers told their children tales of Lamia as they tucked them into bed, using her name as a gentle warning against the youthful arrogance that might draw unwelcome attention from the heavens above. These stories offered wisdom wrapped in whispers, a reminder to tread lightly in a world where mortals brushed against the divine. In the dreams of those who listened, serpents slithered, entwining themselves within night visions, a living testament to the enduring memory of Lamia. These visions, haunting in their beauty and filled with the shadows of her grief, offered a connection to the ancient mother who had walked both in light and darkness. Lamia, the once queen turned specter of nightmares, became an eternal symbol of change, an everlasting spirit echoing softly through time. Her journey from grace to monstrosity, and ultimately to acceptance, transformed her into more than a figure of fear. She became a compassionate reminder of the complexities that dwell within myths. Storytellers, from humble bards to learned historians, found empathy in her tale, the tragedy of her loss, the agony of her endless search, and the bittersweet solace she found in acceptance. Her legend evolved, becoming a delicate balance of sorrow and survival, a thread that wove its way through the stories, sung by firelight and shared under starlit skies. As Lamia faded from mortal perception, her spirit continued to linger in the gentle breezes, the rustle of leaves in the summer night, and the distant echoes of newborns' cries. The earth, having witnessed her journey, embraced her presence, immortalizing her tale in the very fabric of its being. Lamia's presence shifted from the tangible to an ethereal whisper, forever entwined with the essence of the land she once ruled. The themes of transformation and divine wrath, woven throughout her saga, echoed softly in the lullaby of the winds, a reminder of the delicate threads binding gods and humans. Each retelling of Lamia's story became a reflection on the nature of divine intervention and mortal suffering, inducing reflection and understanding in the hearts of those who listened with open minds. Through her acceptance of her dual identity as both mother and monster, Lamia forged a new narrative, one not dominated solely by fear, but molded by resilience and growth. She showed the world that even amidst the darkest circumstances, light could be found, and that one's essence could transcend the physical realm, creating a legacy of empathy and wisdom. In the soothing embrace of the night, Lamia's legend whispered softly into the ears of those who lay below the twinkling stars, stories spun with gentleness and wonder. Her tale, an eternal whisper in the annals of history, provided comfort and contemplation, leaving a legacy that resonated with the calm certitude of an everlasting truth. And so, under the vast starlit sky, the essence of Lamia became one with the universe, a gentle reminder of the stories that we carry and the subtle transformation they bestow upon us all.